One of the most studied animals in the animal kingdom, the lion leads a peculiar and surprising life. Contrary to what one might think, it is not so easy to live. And for good reason. This fearsome beast has a rather singular social organization. If you thought that the cubs were pampered and cherished in their tribe, think again, it's quite the opposite. Here's what a cub does when he's been banished from his tribe. Holding the glorious title of king of the animals, the lion has roamed the planet for millions of years, trying to adapt to its environment to take control over it and thus be able to cross generations. But for this majestic feline, the only one to live in organized groups, adapting and mastering its environment necessarily means dealing with the other individuals of its species who are also real tough guys. Indeed, the life of lions follows a well-established hierarchy. And it is this very particular social organization which is at the origin of the domination of this fearsome predator on the other animals. Let's start at the beginning. When a cub is born, it is born into a pride. If you don't know what a pride is yet, I'll tell you. While other big cats like cheetahs and panthers choose to live a solitary life, lions are very social animals that choose to live together in a family group called a pride. A pride usually consists of a good 10 lions, but the number can grow to 30 or even 40 individuals, representing mothers, fathers, siblings, aunts, uncles, and cousins. The size of a lion pride can therefore vary considerably, and its structure can depend on the subspecies. Here we are talking about the African and Asian species. Generally, the structure of a pride consists of 2 or 3 large males and 5 to 10 females and their cubs. In the Asian subspecies, for example, the pride is divided into 2 herds, in which males and females remain separate, except during the breeding season when they join together to mate. But in other subspecies of lions, all live in perfect harmony within the same tribe. Some members may occasionally break away from the group for a few days to lead a solitary life, in search of food and water, but this never lasts very long as they quickly rejoin their pride after their short escapade. The members of a pride are normally very affectionate towards each other, and this is the strength of the lions. If one were to look at the behavior of a lion within his pride, one would be extremely surprised at how well their codes are respected. Lions in a pride say hello by rubbing their heads and licking each other, just as we humans hug and kiss our family members. As you can see, the cub is born and grows up within a tightly knit pride. His mother, like all the females in the pride, is in charge of hunting and capturing prey, protecting the pride from intruders and other females from neighboring prides who seek to expand their territory. As excellent breeders and hunters, the females of a pride play an integral role in the social organization of the pride. For example, they take turns nursing cubs to divide the rest of the duties, which are primarily focused on foraging and protecting the territory. Females are smaller and faster than males and do not have a mane, which makes them more discreet and therefore more efficient when hunting. When a lioness has to leave her cubs to go hunting, another lioness from the pride will guard them while she is away. Because what you need to know is that the cubs of the same pride are born at about the same time. The females serve as their common parents. It is also the females who slaughter 80 to 90% of the prey consumed by the troop, and this usually happens at night when everyone is sleeping. But when the game is put down and brought to the pride, it is often the dominant male of the group that opens the ball and appropriates the lion's share, followed by the cubs. And speaking of the males of the pride, these are more passive than the females. They rarely hunt and leave this heavy task to their lionesses, while assigning other tasks such as the protection of the territory and its demarcation. The lion does this by urinating at the boundaries of its fiefdom and roaring to discourage and dissuade outsiders from venturing in. On the other hand, as we said earlier, male lions do not remain inactive or constant. They leave the group and rejoin it, spending their days fighting among themselves and teaching their male cubs to do the same. They also teach them survival skills because sooner or later the cubs will have to leave the pride. In Africa's largest carnivore, every aspect of life is governed by specific hierarchical rules. Within a pride, the lion cub is subjected to the harsh laws of nature from an early age. If he is not killed in his first days by a dominant male who sees him as a competitor, he is chased out of the pack because among lions, every relationship is based on physical domination and no pride leader would accept a competitor in his own group. To return to our male cub, he remains within the pride until he reaches sexual maturity. At that time, he is already 2 years old or a little older, and he cannot stay in the pride, because sooner or later his father or another dominant male will banish him. He is then threatened by the dominant lion who is tired of seeing his authority questioned and who will chase him away without scruples. He must therefore leave the group as soon as possible. Only the young lionesses are allowed to stay in the pride because they play vital roles in the pride's survival. When hunted, the young cub becomes nomadic. However, they rarely travel alone. The competition for lion prides being very strong, male lions who find themselves banished form a kind of coalition and travel in groups in order to protect each other. They travel very long distances, we are talking about several kilometers in the round. They go in search of females even if it means crossing the limits of a pride already formed by other lions. The young male cub, therefore, wanders with the rest of his group for about 2 years until he takes over an existing pride or forms a new one at about the age of 5. Since the young cub has very little experience in hunting, the females of his group having taken care of that, he has very little success in it and is therefore content to feed on the carrion he meets on his way, if he is lucky enough to meet any. He also tries to get into a pride that is already established, violates its territory, even tries to reproduce with fertile females, but since these prides already have their own resident males, this usually ends in violent fights and bloodshed. The classic scenario is that the old male loses the battle, he is then driven out of his own pride, he, in turn, leads a lonely life until he succumbs to his injuries, and the young cub then takes his place to lead his own pride. The new leader will also try to kill the cubs of his predecessors to remove any risk of competition. This will also allow the females to go into estrus again, that is to say, that they will regain their ovulation period, and will therefore be able to have new cubs with the new leader of the pack. The young male will thus be able to mate more quickly and ensure his own descendants. And since the life expectancy of a male lion is relatively shorter than that of a female, the length of his stay in a pride is very short. The young male is in his prime between 5 and 10 years. After this period, it is more difficult for him to conceive young. He will then be expelled from the pride by another young nomadic male and will continue his way alone, reproducing the same pattern as the male he expelled from the pride. In short, as soon as the young cub is expelled from the pride, his existence is limited to surviving, sleeping, and looking for a pack to take over, in most cases by knocking down the existing leader. This happens when the cub has the chance to fight an old male and manages to build up his own pride. But in many other cases, the male lion does not make any coalition and is condemned to wander alone for the rest of his life. And in this case, his fate is much more tragic. Because the lion is not a solitary animal, he is born in a group and is not made to live alone all his life, for the simple reason that he never learned to hunt. During the first years of his life, it is the females of his group who took care of feeding him. When he is chased away from his pride by the dominant male, and he does not form any coalition with other males, his life is reduced to meager hunts. The lion is not protected by other males, which only makes him more vulnerable. The lack of protection, coupled with the scarcity of food, means that the poor lion leads a miserable life. The photo of this lion with its ribs very visible is a good example. The prey that an adult lion attacks is usually larger than itself. They include antelopes, zebras, wildebeest, buffaloes, etc. Although these animals are larger and faster than the lions, the fact that the lions help each other and unite in the hunt means that they quickly get the better of them. But in the case where the young male is solitary, he prefers to attack prey much more accessible and easier, namely boars, small gazelles, or warthogs. For example, look at these pictures which show a young lone lion setting his hooks on a warthog that he spotted early in the day. Contrary to appearances, this was not a simple task for our young male. This last one, used to that it is mom who hunts for him, is very clumsy during the hunt. He gets his paws dirty, rolls on the ground, digs in the mud for almost 7 hours in a row, and finally digs up the warthog that was hidden in his burrow. But don't worry about our young lion. Even if he seems to be a novice in hunting and seems to suffer from hunger and loneliness, very often, if he is lucky enough to survive the vicissitudes of life in the wilderness, he manages to create his own pride and be at the head of it like any good king. And as soon as he meets females, and becomes the leader of his own pride, he will delegate to them the chore of hunting, and will resume his place as an idle male whose sole role is to reproduce and protect his territory from strangers. He himself will banish the young he sires for fear of competition, much as he was expelled as a child. He will remain leader of his pride for years before another young male, stronger than him, dethrones him from his place and steals his pride. The cycle of life will then start again from the beginning and follow its natural course. The years that he will have spent wandering alone in the savannah will have allowed him to forge his own personality. He will emerge stronger, more powerful, and will be able to overcome the most formidable dangers. So, what do you think of the new lion's lifestyle when he is chased away from his tribe? Do you think nature is kind or unfair? Tell us what you think in the comments. And if you like this video, don't forget to give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell to receive all the notifications and not miss any of our upcoming content.